Christopher Marlowe actually based his play Dr. Faustus off of much older Germanic folklore of the Faustian legend. But I think in the play he does a really effective job of establishing a various range of emotions. We have quite a bit of comedy. We have quite a bit of we sympathize, parts of us sympathize with Faustus and his plight. There's also there at the end a real sense of terror. As far as the scene where the demons come at the end and drag Faustus down to hell, how that was staged, I'm sure it was horrible. Definitely would be, probably during the Elizabethan staging of it, would be similar to horror movies we have of today. I want to go through some of the key points of the play. There's a few things that make a little more sense if you have some historical context of what was going on at the time period. I want to start by saying that Dr. Faustus is a classic character who, as far as a tragic character, he has a very important quality of a tragic character, and that would be hubris. Some of you may be familiar with the term, but hubris would be a character trait that's excessive pride, and the protagonist of a lot of tragedy. Comes from the Greek tradition, but a lot of tragedy, the protagonist has excessive pride, and this excessive pride leads to their undoing. It leads to their downfall. Faustus shows this right away. It's very clear to the reader, to the audience right away, that Faustus is someone with a very elevated sense of pride, and this haunts him in more than one way. This actually ends up damning him in the first place, and later on we'll talk about how this actually may keep him from finding salvation later on. If you think about even at the beginning of the play, we know that Faustus is a student, and we see his hubris when he's trying to decide what would be most worthy of him to study. And he goes through a list of different things, including theology, which is, the study of God. You would think that would be pretty much the highest you could get. But Faustus goes through a list of different studies and basically comes to the point that they're all beneath him, except for necromancy. And necromancy, aka the ability to raise the dead and make the dead do your will, Faustus sees that as the only thing suitable for someone of his stature, of his mental faculties, and you really see the pride coming through there. It's also interesting that, at the beginning there's a couple of scholar friends that are magicians. They're, I guess, fellow necromancers who Faustus calls in and says, "Hey, I want to learn your art, so there's the old saying, you've got to learn to crawl before you walk." Faustus does not show that at all. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll teach you. Where you want to start? And instead of starting with kind of the basics, Faustus goes right to, oh, I know, let's see, I want to start studying this today, and by the end of the day, let's summon demons. You'd think that there'd be a little bit of practice before you jump right into, summoning the lords of hell, your first day of studying. Anyway, it really goes back to that pride of, he jumps right in knowing, well, thinking, to him it's knowledge that he's good enough to not only undertake the study of necromancy, but to start with the most severe part of it, probably most dangerous part. I think, summoning legions of hell and trying to make them do your will would be probably pretty dangerous. Now, speaking of the summoning, when Faustus actually successfully summons Mephistopheles, we find out what actually brought Mephistopheles to Faustus. It wasn't really any power that Faustus had. It wasn't really any magic in the chant that he made. Mephistopheles reveals that it's his own free will. Mephistopheles' own free will. He was curious and wanted to come check out who was putting his soul in mortal danger and in eternal damnation. Mephistopheles says the real power of summoning us is if you place your soul in the realm of hellfire, then that will bring a demon to come see what's going on. That's what brings us forward. It's no real magic. The magic is humans willing to risk their souls, and that'll bring us coming. This kind of goes back to the stupidity of Faustus. You know, one thing that it seems unrealistic, I guess, but maybe not. I mean, maybe you know people. Sorry, we'll kick the camera. Maybe you know people who are so smart, their genius level IQ, they miss things that are completely basic. I guess it's that, you know, you can have book learning but maybe be a little shy on common sense. It seems here that Faustus shows a severe stupidity as far as the reason why he's willing to summon Mephistopheles, and the reason why he's willing to make this deal of, yeah, I'll give you my soul if you give me 24 years of power and servitude. The reason why he's willing to make this deal is that he does not believe in hell. And Mephistopheles even calls him on that. He's like, hey, Faustus, you know, here I am. I am a representative of hell. I'm a demon. And you're sitting here telling me that you don't believe in hell. It doesn't really, it seems a severe, I don't get how he can be this stupid. It may go back to arrogance as far as even in the face of proof, absolute proof. I mean, here is a demon from hell. Even faced with this proof, since it's contrary to what he thought ahead of time, Faustus thinks, well, it can't be true because I don't think it's true and I'm never wrong. So even faced with proof, absolute proof, Faustus's pride still doesn't allow him to see the truth when it's staring him right in the face. I mean, he's willing to make the deal and kind of laughs about the conditions. Oh yeah, sure, you can have my soul, sure, whatever. Yeah, it'll go to hell. There's no such place, so sure, I'll be happy to make the deal. And we know, of course, he does. Later in the play, he becomes quite convinced, even before he goes to hell, that hell is a real place, and that fear does really start to sink in. As far as Mephistopheles goes, there's one line in here where Mephistopheles, he's in an interesting role. He is acting kind of as Faustus's servant. But at the same time, Mephistopheles has his own scheme going on. It's really not Faustus that's pulling Mephistopheles' strings. It's the other way around. Mephistopheles is really trying to pull Faustus' strings to keep him damned. Because we, the reader, we know that even when Faustus signs that deal, it's not a done deal. Even though he signs with blood, he can still, through the mercy of God, and we'll come back to, through the mercy of God, he can still get away from the damnation that he's agreed to. So Mephistopheles is really here as not only a servant, but also as someone who's keeping his thumb on Faustus, keeping him in that damned state that he's in. And there's a line here that we really see Mephistopheles' clear goal. He says, oh, what will not I do to obtain his soul? And this is aside. This means that Faustus does not hear him say this. But we see here that Mephistopheles craves to bring Faustus' soul down to hell. So part 2 we'll hit a few of the, more of the main ideas, and we'll especially tackle some of the parody of the Catholic religion we have in the play, which is really important for the Elizabethan time period.